Of Emmanuel Sir College of Education, I welcome you both. Finally, I welcome my colleagues, dear students, and the technicians for this international webinar. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you. Now, I invite S.M. Asha, Assistant Professor, to introduce the chief guest.
It's time for introducing our chief guest, Mrs. Hema Mohanasundaram. She has completed her Masters in Rehabilitation Science in 2006 and Masters of Philosophy in 2010. She is specialized in low vision, learning disability, and parent counseling. She has 14 years of experience in the field of rehabilitation. She is currently working as the special educator in Karen Special Education Sultanate of Oman. Recently, she received 2 prestigious awards, namely Naveen Asharkasi Award for the Excellence in Teaching for the Best Special Educator Award in the academic year 2018-2019 from the Indian School in Oman. Board of Directors and the Best Students Care Award from the Ministry of Education, Sultanate of Oman for the academic year 2018-2019.
Now, I request our resource person, Mrs. Hema Mohanasundaram.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Thank you for the warm introduction, Asha. Respected Chairman, Sir, Dr. Samuel George, and our respected Madam, Secretary, Madam, Directors, Principal and Vice Principals of the prestigious Emmanuel Arasar College of Education. First of all, I'd like to convey my deep thanks for welcoming me for this webinar, inviting me to present the topic on understanding SEN children in regular classroom, a teacher's perspective. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Without wasting your time, straight away, let's go into our presentation. Okay. Asha, can you able to see the screen now? Asha, can you able to see the screen now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Our topic is today I'd like to discuss about understanding SEN children in regular classroom at teacher's perspective. So you all will have a doubt like what is SEN? What is SEN? So SEN is nothing but special educational needs. In your regular classrooms, you will observe different children, different kinds of children. Some children will behave little differently and they will show some poor academic performance, or while they are talking, they will speak little differently. So you will think why this child alone is very different from other children in my classroom. So their needs are very special. How we are trying to deliver our content in our classroom resources, everything. Their needs and expectation, the skill level, and the difficulties are little special, different from other children. So they are called special educational needs children. So today we are going to study, understand about what are the difficulties they are facing and how teachers plays a major role in identifying these children, because they are the primary, the teachers playing a primary role in identifying these children from the classroom, and they are doing the referral to the parents as well as to the other people, service providers. And in the SEN children, there are some common types. Today in our presentation, we are going to see what are the different common types of SEN children, and you people will have think, oh, okay, if they have special needs, these special needs children, they can go and study in the special school. Why they have to come to the normal regular school and they have to study along with the so-called normal children? So we will discuss about that also, why they have to study in the regular school. And even if you accept the child, I don't know how to deal with these children in the regular school, because already I have 40 or 50 kids in my classroom. Apart from that, if I want to handle this special, deal with this special child also, how I have to deal with this child? What are the strategies I need to follow? You so lots of confusions will be there. So today during my presentation, I'm like to share my experience and the content related to this. Let's go into that. As I said, SN is special education needs children. So the common types are, so these things, just think about your classroom so that you can relate with some children. First is the speech language delay. Some children will speak in speech and language. There are two types. One is the expressive language and the next one is the receptive language. The expressive language, some children, they will not speak like their age appropriate children, so they will not express their needs. Like, if the teacher, I want a pencil, teacher, I want to drink water, I want to go and eat food, I want to go to the toilet, how they will express? Some they will use the words, some they will do the actions. They can't express through words. Even if they are expressing their words, it may not be in a proper sentence structure, so they have difficulties. It will not be age appropriate to the child group. So you will feel different. Why this children is speaking differently? And also the receptive language is how the child understand, follows the teacher's instruction. So the child will have, if teacher will say, go and take this and come bring this notebook, but the child will perform differently, or the child may not perform the activity. So teacher may, why this child is not obeying to me? Why this child is not following my instruction? It is not because of that. It is because of the difficulty the child is having in the receptive language, in understanding what the teacher is saying, in following the one step or multiple step instruction what the teacher is providing to the student. Okay, so some children will have the speech and language difficulties in the classroom, not all the SEN children. And the next major type is ADHD. ADHD is attention deficit hyperactive disorder. As it says clearly, the child will have difficulty in paying attention to the classroom, the classroom instruction. Even the child is paying attention for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, the child finds very difficult to sustain that attention for the period of time to complete the task. So they will have this deficit. So attention deficit and also hyperactive. You will see some children in the elementary school, they will run around here and there. They can't able to sit in a place and to complete the assigned task. To complete a simple coloring picture or to simple worksheet, it's very difficult for us to make them to sit in one place and to make them to perform the activities. So these children, they will be very hyper, they will jump around, run around, and teacher will be very much frustrated. Why this child is not sitting in one place like other children in the classroom? So these children, attention deficit, these children, they are having this problem. That's why they can't able, because their energy need to be burned out. So they can't sit in a place for long period of time to pay attention to the class. And also they will be very impulsive. Impulsive is before the teacher asks the question, the child will produce the answer. Before listening to the full question, the child will answer the question. It may or may not be wrong. The child will not wait for his turn. The child will not wait for his turn. So these kind of difficulties you will see among these children with ADHD. The next one is the autism spectrum disorder. Autism spectrum disorder, nowadays, if you see the prevalence rate of autism spectrum disorder, it is globally very high. Day by day, it's increasing a lot all over the world. The child will have difficulties in the communication skill. The child will have difficulties in the behavior. The child will have difficulty in the understanding. The child might have the repetitive behavior. So much difficulties the child will face. And the learning styles and how we are delivering the teaching styles will vary from other children. But the child has the skills to learn tasks, but we need to teach them in a different way, in a special way. So that is the one major, nowadays in everywhere, if you see the autism spectrum disorder is very common. The next one is the cognitive delay. The children with cognitive delay, they have difficulties in understanding the concept, reasoning why it is happening, why questions, it's difficulties in answering the why questions, and difficulties in problem solving skills. Problem solving skills not only in our personal life, not only in our day-to-day life, the problem solving in our academics also, in mathematics, problem solves also, it will relate it. So they have difficulties in problem solving skills, and majorly they have difficulties in the decision making skills. So which question has to, which is the correct answer I have to produce, which is the correct way I have to make the decision. So they have difficulties in decision making also. The children with cognitive delays, they have difficulties in understanding all the basic concept development like colors, shapes. So we will teach for a long period of time, but children will take little more longer time to understand the concepts like opposite concepts like big, small, hot, cold, dry, wet. So different concepts are there, opposite concepts are there. They have difficulties in understanding and processing these concepts. The next one is the social and emotional disorder. Yes, it's also very common nowadays in schools in India and all over the world. That's why that is the reason they are having a mental health promotion program that they are arranging in everywhere. Especially they have assigned a team of members to work on this mental health. The child will have lots of emotional disturbances, might be from back home or from school or from the peer groups or some social groups, some or from within the child itself. The child will have different emotional disturbance. Sudden the child will study well, the child will perform the activities, everything nicely. Suddenly the child will burst out and the child will cry. Something will hurt the child or some fear will be there in the child. So it's a class teacher's role to avoid this child is the face is looking little different, the child is little upset. So if you go and talk to the child, spend some time with the child, definitely something you can find out and help the child. So social and emotional disorder, and the last and the major one is the learning disabilities. It's very common in regular schools. You will see children with learning disabilities, that these children will have difficulties in the reading, which is called dyslexia. The difficulty in reading is called dyslexia. So the children will have difficulties in writing, it is called dysgraphia. So if you see children, they will, instead of writing B, they will write ulta B, they will write mirror writing, everything the direction left and right direction they will change. And then the mathematics, dyscalculia, they have difficulties in understanding mathematical concept, they will have difficulty in sequencing. So the difficulties in reading, writing, and mathematics, everything, understanding and producing the answers, all related learning problems are learning disabilities. These are some common types you can see in your regular classrooms. Apart from that, sense children, they have difficulties in visual problem, visual processing, visual perceptual skills, and they have auditory impairment, and locomotor impairment, other conditions, cerebral palsy, other conditions also there. These are some common types which you can see in your own classroom. So for all these children, you will think, okay, these children can study separately in a special school. Why they want to study in a regular school? Because they will benefit more in special school than in normal school. Few teachers, we used to think like that. But the answer is, everyone has the right for the education, irrespective of the economic status, irrespective of the gender, irrespective of their disabilities. Every child has the right for education. Okay, so the person, it is a law the Indian government has given, Person with Disabilities Act in 1996. It speaks about the equal opportunities, protections, and full participation of these children in normal school, and also the provision for inclusive education in Rights to Education Act 2009. It also insisting same on the inclusive education. We need to accept these send children in our regular schools, normal schools. It's the right of the children to educate. And the Right to Education Act in 2012 also is clearly insisting it's the right to pursue free and compulsory elementary education and to promote the integration of students with disabilities in the normal schools. So whether as teacher we are accepting the send children in our classrooms or not, it is the law. We need to obey our law and to accept these children in our and accommodate these children in our regular classroom. The next, what is this inclusive education? So we have seen in our law that inclusive education. What is this inclusive education? UNESCO has defined this inclusive education as a process of addressing and responding to the diverse needs of all learners by increasing participation in learning and reducing exclusion within and from education. The main objectives of this inclusive education is to support the education for all children, irrespective of the gender, whether they are a boy or a girl, or irrespective of the difficulties they are facing in the learning or disabilities. We need to support education to all children, removing the barriers to the participation, removing the environmental barriers also. That is the reason nowadays everywhere we are seeing there is ramps are coming in all the bus stops, railway station, all kinds of facilities. They are removing the barriers from the society so that all the special people can move in the society independently without depending on anyone. So, and they also can access the environment. All children should participate and equally treated. All children should participate and equally we should treat the children in respect of their difficulties. Whether they are scoring high marks or low marks, it is teachers' responsibility to treat all children as equally. The school's duty to accept the child. We can't deny the child. It's school duties to accept the child. This is the Act, Inclusive Education. They have insisting all the schools to accept these children irrespective of the difficulties. Okay. The next, okay, I will accept the children, but what kind of observation as a class teacher I want to do while you are teaching the children in your classroom? If you will observe this, some common observation only I have listed on, not everything. So you will see some lack of eye contact. If you see, if you talk with some children, they will not pay eye contact. They will look somewhere when you are talking, and they, while doing task also, they will not pay eye contact. And sitting span, they will not sit in a period of time to complete the task. They will move around. It's very difficult to make them to sit in one place and make them to do the task. And sustaining attention, as I said, they can't, it's difficult for the child to pay attention for a long time. Even in my presentation, you have to pay attention. It's very difficult to pay attention for the long time. So they have difficulties in sustaining attention, difficulties in following one step or multiple step instruction, whatever the teacher is saying, whatever the peer groups are saying, the students studying along with them, they are saying they have difficulties in following the instruction, and they will avoid, dislike, or being reluctant to engage in the task, any classroom task or play task, whatever the task, they have difficulties in completing the task. And they will easily distracted. If while they are doing something is coming, some person is entering, some light is coming, some sound, external stimuli, anything is coming, easily they will distract from their work and their work will get disturbed. Fidgetness with hands or feet and streaming in. Now, children with autism, you will see this symptom, and blurting out answers before question have been asked. As I said earlier, for impulsive children, children who have a problem with the impulsivity, they have difficulties in blurting out answer before the teacher asks the question. Difficulty in turn taking. If you are sitting in a circle, if you have to wait for your turn, means the child will not have patience to wait for his or her turn. The child will go and a child will ask for it, or the child will respond for it. So these children will have difficulty in taking turns and sharing their items and interrupting while other talking. If you see, many times before you complete your sentence, whatever you want, information you want to complete, these children will suddenly, they will interrupt the communication. Or if you are talking with some other, these children will come, enter, and they will interfere. And among the peer groups also, they will have little misunderstanding because of that. And poor scholastic performance. Poor scholastic performance is, they will show very low academic marks while they are doing tests or exams. Their performance level will show very. You will say, why this child is studying 4th standard, 5th standard. Even he has difficulties in reading and writing the alphabets. They have difficulties in counting the numbers, counting the pictures. Why? Because of this poor scholastic performance these children might have. So these are some classroom observation we teachers can do in our classroom, or these children are having these difficulties. But one thing is very common, I like to insist, some children, so-called normal children, also have these kinds of difficulties. So it's a teacher's role is to identify, but we can't label the child as this child is autism or ADHD, or this child has learning disability. Teacher should not label the child. It is the clinical psychologist and the therapist, multidisciplinary team are there to do clinical comprehensive evaluation, assessment, and diagnosis, and they will let us know what kind of diagnosis the child has. So teacher, we can do all these observation just to do the referral. teachers, we should not label the child, this child is having this problem, we should not label the child. All these things will help us to understand the child's difficulty, and okay, this child is having these problems, so I have to observe and I have to refer this child for further assessment and further help support. Okay, for all these things only I'm sharing. Okay, next. So you might ask, what are the benefits of inclusion for students with special needs? What kind of benefits they will have if we are admitting these children in our school, in our classroom? What kind of benefits they will receive is the first and major, what I think, is peer groups. From the peer groups, peers are the very good role models for our children. Okay, so what they will learn how to communicate, how to interact with the child, how to pragmatic, in a proper way, how to, with respect to the adults. If we will not talk in the same way how we are talking with our friends, and while we are talking with our principal. For principal means we will give some respect, and the way we will request something is will be different, but with friends we will talk very freely. So that is called pragmatics. So they, while interaction, how to use initiate interaction with the adults or with the peer groups, how to talk, all those communication skills, they will get opportunities to communicate and to interact. So they will build a meaningful friendship with the peer groups. Unless you are accepting this child in your classroom, how this child will get some friendship from the peer group, and they will get the role model from the normal children. Then the behavior skill also, the some self-injurious behavior or hitting others or any repetitive behaviors also, this peer group role model will support them to overcome this behavioral problems. And also eating behavior, like daily living skills, like without spilling, how to eat, without spilling, how to drink water. So all those things they will see, and they will observe other children, they will move and they will live along with the other kids, peer groups, and they will learn. It's a learning along with the peer group is the best benefit of inclusive Sen children. And social relationship, yes, it is a social relationship, school is a social relationship, they will get the social relationship. Then next one, curriculum. From curriculum, these children can access to the greater access to the general curriculum. In our place we used to say samachir kalvi, no? So they will also have opportunities to access the general curriculum, whatever the lessons are there, they will get access to these children. And we can set an higher expectation in among with Sen children. Sometimes we will think as teacher, no, this child, he can't learn all these things, he's very low, we need to do simple. But sometimes they will give us a surprise, they will learn. So always we should set a one level higher expectation, goals we need to set. So sometimes they will give us surprise, they will learn very fast. We will think, no, he can't learn, but suddenly they will learn very easily. So higher expectation will give higher opportunity for the child to learn. And skill acquisition and generalization. Without generalization, whatever we are teaching to the child is waste. So the generalization will happen in inclusive education. The major thing is IEP. IEP is individualized education program. So we will set, I will elaborate this IEP also. IEP, for each child will have separate individualized education program according to the child's level, skill level, need of the child. The curriculum is modified, and they will set the goal, IEP goals, each subject 2 goals. This month, this 1 month, these 2 points, he will be able to write 1 to 10 in a sequence. He is able to count pictures up to 10. Like that, you are setting simple goals and writing. This 1 month you are going to teach only that. So in that, so in each area for goals you will write for the child. That is individualized education program. In all the areas you will write for the child. So the child will benefit from IEP. Next, the benefits, parents and society. Definitely parents will have an increased participation in this inclusive program, and families also will more integrate into the community. Through this, the family, full family, it is not only the child is benefiting, it is the parents are benefiting. They are getting a counseling and guidance from you teachers, and the siblings also. If we have some children in our family, the siblings emotion, they will also have emotional disturbances, they will also feel low, and we can guide the siblings also how to deal with these children, how to support these children, so the full family is getting benefited. At last the child is will become adult and the child is going to live in the society. So all this will result in increased inclusive society. The full society will accept the child as he is. So this inclusive education is very much necessary. So we are not keeping the child separately, we are including the child in our own society where we live. The next one, okay, what are the benefits? The child who are not having disabilities is meaningful friendship. Friendship will not come, we will not see the economic status for the friendship, whether they are having high status, high friendship, low status, low. It is not a meaningful friendship. It is not based on the gender. It does not see what are the difficulties, weakness they have. Friendship is pure. So the no, children will under what is the meaningful result, accepting the friend as he is. So that is most important. Increased appreciation and acceptance of the individual differences, whatever differences they have, they will appreciate the child and accept the child as he is, and they will understand the child, and acceptance of diversity and respect for all people. Nowadays we the respect for all people, what we are teaching our kids, this is the most important point. They will respect all the people, prepare all students for adult life in an inclusive society. Yes, it not only prepare the Sen children or the families of Sen children, but also it prepares all students in your school for the inclusive society. It will benefit the society, community where we live. An opportunity to master activities by practicing and teaching others, yes, and greater academic outcome. Yes, I'm sure greater academic outcome will be there among with these children while they are teaching and practicing other kids. And one more thing, the most importantly, all students' needs are better met, and it is a greater resource for everyone. How? How? So in one presentation, one teacher asked, if I am teaching this child, how other children will get benefit? See, as a teacher, for these children, we will teach as simple as possible, as clear as possible. We will use to teach, and as slow. Our instruction is very slow, very clear. We will teach these children. While we are teaching like this, definitely it will reach the child who is sitting in the last bench also. If we are very teaching very simply, very clearly, if we are teaching the child, definitely all children in the classroom are going to benefit from your teaching, from the content what you're going to deliver. It will reach all the child. So while you are keeping this child in mind and teaching, definitely all the children in your classroom will understand your content what you are teaching. Okay, so definitely all children, students needs are better met, and it is a greater resource for each and every child. That is the biggest benefit of inclusive education for students without disabilities. Okay, now let's see what is the special education referral process. Okay, I have identified some child. Now what I have to do, I don't know as a teacher. Next what I have to do, what I have so let's see one by one. There are phases, different phases are there. Let's see the phases. Okay, the first one is the recognition. First, as I said, some signs and symptoms, through that you are recognizing the teacher from your classroom, and you will do the next. Second phase is the pre-referral. Pre-referral to their parents. You are informing your parents, this child is doing all these things, did you observe all these things in your at home also? So you will check with the parents, and you will check the other areas also, how from morning till evening, all their day-to-day life, how they are doing, everything you are doing for this child, or the child is doing everything independently, or the child is having any behavioral problem, hitting others, or anything is there at home also. So you will check with the parents, and you will guide the parents. That this stage is called pre-referral. And from pre-referral, you will refer the child for the special education evaluation. So the team of members, multidisciplinary team members, will be there to do the special education evaluation. That is the fourth stage. So special education evaluation will be done by the team of members. They will do the comprehensive evaluation in all the areas. I will be sharing that little later. Next slide. And then after the evaluation, after the diagnosis has done, the multidisciplinary team will do the IEP meeting. I will be telling who all will be the multidisciplinary team. So IEP meeting, as I said earlier, all the team members will sit together and they will plan the education for this one child. Okay, so they will write within 3 months what are the things the child needs to learn, what are the skills we are going to train the child, what are the skills need to develop. So they will set goals in all the areas like speech, like motor development, like cognitive development in lessons, also English, maths, science, and other subjects also, arts, play skills, social skills, leisure activity, all the areas they will set the goals. So after setting the goals, the teachers and the special educators, they will implement, they will train the SEN children in these tasks with the support of the, we have our SSA teacher, no? So they will come and they will guide the teachers, and with their support, with them, they have undergone lots of CRE program like continuous education rehabilitation program. So they know information, so we can get some ideas and information. Only thing is we need to ask them, this child has this, how to teach this child this concept. If you ask, they will definitely, they will share their knowledge. So we are implementing that set IEP goals to this SEN child. And then after a period of 3 months, we are re-evaluating. We need to check, no, how well the child is learned all these IEP program. So re-evaluating the set IEP goals. Okay. If the goals are not achieved, then if the goals are not, then we need to, during this re-evaluation will help the child, we can plan for alternative teaching strategies, methods we can change, or teaching learning materials we can change and give, or the goal is little high or little low, we can change the goal. So all these things will be easy if you re-evaluate the child. If you're not doing re-evaluation, then there is no use of doing all these phases. Okay, the next one, I told about the special education evaluation, no, the clinical psychologists and the team members, they will do, particularly clinical psychologists, they play a major role in doing the assessment and diagnosis of the child. Most students receive a battery of formal evaluation. Anyone can do the informal evaluation, but this formal assessment will be done only by the clinical psychologist that measures intelligence. We are saying IQ, no, intelligence, achievements, how well in all the areas, how much, how they achieved, till what level they have achieved. If they achieve till this, no, next level we are going to set the goal. So we need to know the achievements in all the areas. And behavioral, what kind of behavioral disturbances the child has. Then disability specific, like if the child has visual problem, hearing problem, or speech problem, or the child has problem in fine motor skills, so writing will be difficult, or the child has gross motor skills, the child's other activities will be movements will affect. So they will do the disability specific issues also, complete assessment according to the need. They will do the referral to the other therapist and they will do the evaluation. And of course the medical doctors will do a clinical evaluation of this child. If the child has any can undergo any surgeries or any medication will help the child to overcome the hyperactivity or for attention, everything. We need medical professional supports also. So these kind of evaluations they will do, and they will do a complete picture. They will study about the child and they will help the teachers to implement the IEP evaluation. The next one, so as I said, a multidisciplinary team. Who all will be there in our multidisciplinary team are, of course, we general education teachers, we are there, and special educators. Special educators are there, and clinical psychologists. Clinical psychologists, not only their work stops in assessing and diagnosis, but also for behavioral and other things. They will give lots of counseling and advice to the parents as well as to the teachers how to work with the children. Yes, occupational therapist. Occupational therapist will work on the functional skill of the child, how to do the day-to-day living skill, how to develop the skills, even for the attention and concentration, how to develop the attention and concentration skill. So occupational therapists will work in that area. And also for writing, occupational therapists, they will work on handwriting. They work on handwriting and to develop the skills, the position of how to hold the pencil, grips also, different grips, different things they will teach. Definitely will be helpful for academics. And physiotherapists, yes, they will work on movements they will do for independent walking, and to do any position, postural correction, and gait training. Everything the physiotherapist will do for children children who will come in the wheelchair. For them also, how to develop the skills, everything the physiotherapist will do the exercise, and they will help support. Counselors plays a major part, as I said earlier, for the parents and also for the siblings. Family guidance and counseling is very much necessary to take care of these children and to train these children. So counselor support also is very much necessary, and they will take an active part, not only for the families, for the siblings, but also for we teachers. So we need counseling. Sometimes we also feel very frustrated. Whatever I am doing with this child is not understanding anything. This child is not behaving in a proper way. The child is not learning. Sometimes we feel frustrated at times. So we also will go and get counseling and some advice from the counselors to overcome our frustration and depression. So counselors really plays a major role in this team. And also the most important, parents are the first primary source. They will give the information about what no one in the world knows better than the parents. So they will tell the child's strengths and weakness. And what I will talk about the reinforcer also. We can get what is reinforcer, I will say. So they will tell what reinforcer will help the child to do any task. So parents, they will say what is the family history or any problem is there related to this condition. And we can do the interview and observation. From parents we can get lots of information on how to deal with the child. Sometimes parents will say some toys or some small bottle caps or wheels of the car, some tips they will give. That all these tips are very much important. So parents are the greatest source for us. And we have, before setting the goal, we need to get parents priority need also, what thing we need to teach to the child. So these are the multidisciplinary team members. They will work for the IEP evaluation and to set the goal. So they will work together. They all will work together for the SEND children. Okay. Next. Yes. As a teacher, only alone we can do so little. If as a multidisciplinary team we are joined together, we can do so much. So we will not hesitate to get help from any team members, because we are not asking help for ourselves. We are asking some help and guidance to support or to help the others and children. And also we should not feel shy or hesitate to ask help from our colleagues also, with other teachers also. Sometimes we may not know how to deal with this child, but if we discuss with other teachers or other colleagues, they will share their experience, they will share their ideas and help us how to teach some specific concept to the child, use this strategy, and it might work with the child. So they will give some guidance, they will share their experience, they will give their ideas. So it will definitely, you can, from that idea you can develop your own ideas and you can learn more. So you are going to help the SEND children. So please free feel to share your difficulties with your fellow colleagues, teachers also, so they will share their knowledge to you. The next is planning the curriculum, teaching and learning objectives. As I said, for IEP we are setting the objectives. Before doing that, we will do the curriculum modification. If normal school, normal children, if we are teaching one lesson, plant lesson means what kind of modification we are going to do for this SEND child. Like for other children, they are writing the question and answers, means these children, they can only label the parts of the plant, or they have other kids are going to answer 10 out of 20 questions. These children can answer only 3 out of 5 questions. Like that, you can reduce their complexity level of the lesson and the test content. And also the style of delivery, how you are going to, which style you are going. It is only we are going to use the board and you are going to verbally explain the lesson, or these children's learning styles, the delivery of content will be different, because some children with visual problem, they need more on tactile and hearing, and some children with hearing problem, they will use more on vision and other senses. So according to their strength, we need to use the style of delivery of content to these children. So identifying what style also is very much important before planning. And the learning style, the most important is the learning style. Sometimes we will verbally teach the child again and again. The child will have, how many times I'm teaching this children, this child I'm teaching for past 3 months, same child not understanding. Sometimes we will think like that, because at times what happened, the child might be a visual learner. You are giving the auditory way of learning for long period of time. It will not benefit the child. It is a waste of time for you also, and it is waste of time for the child also. So identifying the learning style, each child's learning style will be different. If you think about your classroom, when your schools and classroom, colleges, when you study, if you are there for 40 children in your classroom, means each child's learning style will be different. Some children will be visual learners, some children will be auditory learners, some children will be verbal learner. Some children, they will do and learn. If they do some activity, then only they will understand. Some children will be logical learners. They will think about what is the logical reason behind this concept. Some will be logical learners. Some, if they study in a group only, they will study. We will say social learners. They are social learners. If they are in a small group only, they will study. They don't know to study alone. Some children, if they sit alone under a tree and study only, they will learn. They don't know to study in a group. So each child's learning style is different. For us also it's different. The same way for some children also the learning styles are different. So we need to understand the learning style. In a single day or 2 or 3 days, we can't understand the learning style. We need to work with the children for long time. Then only we can able to understand the learning style. Without working with the child, we can't understand the learning style of the child. And the most important is the multisensory teaching and learning materials. Multisensory teaching and learning material is nothing but for single concept. You're using your multiple senses to teach the child. You're using your visual clues, auditory clues, kinesthetic and tactile clues. So everything you are using for the child. Okay. So one example I will give you in multisensory teaching and learning materials. Materials you are using TLM, not teaching learning materials. So you have to prepare the materials before implementing the IEP to the child. So if I'm teaching the lesson, animal lesson means animals, I can show the real animal to the child, or I can show the animal picture card to the child. Then I can use the animal flashcards to the child, and relating the animal sounds and animals names with the child, and using some, according to the child's level, I'm using my different senses for the child to make the child to understand about what is animals, what are the different types of animals are there, what are domestic animals, what are wild animals. Slowly we are going to herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous, and we are increasing the complexity according to the child's level. So for each and everything, everything, whichever is possible, use your multiple senses. We are saying fact, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile senses. You are using everything together to teach one single concept for one child. When you teach this, other children also will be benefit in your classroom. So using the multisensory teaching strategies is very much important. Okay, the next, some helpful strategies I like to share with the teachers is work closely with the special educators and related therapists also. They will share their knowledge with you to teach something, or sometimes some child needs some contrast enhancement measures, or some teaching learning materials will be different. Means for visually impaired, they are using braille and stylus, all those things. We will think the child is having a normal vision, and we will make the child to write again, write your name, write your name for 6 months. But the child's difficulties might be different. So you have to discuss with the special educator. They will identify what kind of difficulty the child is facing, and they will give their guidance, and they will share their ideas how to teach this concept. This child is having this kind of difficulties. You have to change the contrast of the background and the letters. So some ideas they will give. So work closely with your SSA teachers. So they will give their ideas, and also if possible, with the parent support, you can get the reports from the other therapist or anyone, and you can see, go through that, and 1 minute it will take to go through those letters and to get the input to work with the child. It definitely helps the child. And plan IEP along with the special educators and learn what modifications need to be made. So whatever you are doing along with the class, what they are doing, if you work along with it only, if in science period means work science, that's some modified same content, little easy content you can get into the child's level. So you have to plan along with the special educator and think about what modification need to be made to teach that particular topic, and talk to parents and identify the reinforcer. As I said earlier, reinforcer is some like token or some reward to the child. Sometimes the verbal reward, the child will feel very happy. Sometimes clapping, definitely the child will feel very happy and pays the attention. If you complete the task, then I'm going to clap. If you complete the task, then I will put stars on your hand. Stars, kids are very fond of stars. So then it will motivate and encourage the child to work more. And whatever it will gain the teacher's attention also. And also it might be simple bottle caps, or it might be the wheels of the car, something. You have to talk to the parents at home what they are having fond of, what they like most. Chocolates, chips, different child's reinforcer will be different. We can't use different reinforcer for all the children. Each child, even if I ask myself, I will say something different and you will say something different. Each child's likes and dislikes are different. So you have to talk to the parents what they like, and you have to keep the reinforcer on site. And whenever the child completes the task, okay, the child is not using the bad words for 5 minutes, okay, then the reward. Then extend the time. The child is not using the bad words for 10 minutes, and then reward. So that reward will, the reinforcer will help the child to build the positive behavior for the child. It will reinforce the child to behave well, not only for the behavior, for reading, writing, all the skills development. We can use the reinforcer. Allow students choice in your activities. Sometimes if you work according to child's interest and fun, they will perform well. If we force the child a lot, they will not cooperate well, and it will not benefit us also, and as well as the child. It is waste of time also. So if you work according to child's choice in their activities, if you want to teach car or something, you can, if the child likes coloring or painting, you do the same thing with different activities in the same concept you can do. So same content with choice. So allow, they take child's interest and fun also. So they will show interest and they will learn fast and they will cooperate also. So above all these things, what I try to insist is be enthusiastic in your encouragement. Don't feel low. Be enthusiastic and encourage. Encouragement is not only for the send children, not only for the parent, it is for us also. I'm teaching this for a long time. The child is not learning. Don't be discouraged. Definitely the child will, if the child is not learning today or tomorrow, one day definitely the child will learn. If you consistently giving revision with the same content, with the same teaching learning material, definitely it will take some time for this child to understand what you are trying to teach, and slowly they will understand the concept, how they are recollecting the names, because the revision is taking again and again, they are hearing it again and again, then they are identifying their own name. So how they are learning the name, for it is converting into the long term memory. So they are, so in the same way other concepts also, if we are doing again and again, definitely one day they will feel, they will learn the task. So be enthusiastic in your encouragement. Don't feel low if they are not learning. One day definitely they will learn. How to help send children in the classroom. So this, I believe, not only the send children, but also all the children in the classroom, it will help. How we need to maintain organized classroom and limit distraction, because if any stimuli is coming, suddenly the child will get distracted and the child will leave the task and their attention will go. So definitely you maintain an organized classroom and limit the distraction from external sound, or any person is coming unnecessarily. Other teachers should not come and disturb the class, go and talk during the class time. That those kind of disturbances we can remove. And a simple and clear instruction voice. When I'm talking, if you see, I have sometimes I will speak low, sometimes I will speak fast. to gain your attention. So your instruction should be as simple as possible and clear. Don't make a lengthy statement. Make it very short so that the child will better understand. Not only your language or voice, but also your facial expression, how you are trying to try to convey your thoughts and ideas. Use your facial expression. So all this, the child will gain teacher's attention. And use multi-sensory strategies. I already spoke about this multi-sensory strategies, and give opportunities for the success, irrespective of the whether it is academics or play or whatever it is, arts and craft. Give opportunities. Unless or until you are giving the opportunities, how the child will learn. So please give opportunities to the child, and achievable and related class tasks you can give. So if the related class task you give, same lesson max means same max you can give, but some whichever the child can able to achieve, that if you give more complex and the child does not achieve, the child will also feel low and you will also feel low. Set an achievable task at the beginning and slowly increase the complexity of the content, and allow extra time and reinforce learning. When they are writing the test or copying from the blackboard, give some extra from for this child so that they will complete that task. If you rub fastly, then if it is happening for long time, for 1 month or 2 months, the child will lose interest, and the child will stop copying from the blackboard or exam, whatever it is, whatever the task is. You allow extra time for the child. And timeout area, timeout is most important. In your own timeout is in the classroom, you set one corner, one area, keep some reinforces there. If the child is getting disturbed, crying or jumping, anything, give some break for 5 minutes or 10 minutes according to the child's need. Let the child go calm down. Sometimes the child feel very frustrated, anxiety, depression, so that the child will hit others, throw the things. At that time, don't force the child to do the task. You send the child to this timeout area, help the child to come out from the anxiety, frustration, depression, that the child calm down. Then again, the child can hear some music according to the reinforcement. Reinforcement can be music also. So according to the reinforcement, the child can use the reinforcement and come back to the class and do the task. And visual schedules are nothing but we are having timetable. No, in the same way with the pictures, or if the child knows words or sentence, according to that we are going to have a visual schedule in the class. Nearby next to the child, you put one chart with the pictures. Morning timetable, keep your bag here, then prayer, then exercise with the picture, so that then pre-date to pre-max science, then break food picture. So some pictures, so that it won't surprise the child. Suddenly any task is coming, the child will be anxiety and frustrated to do some task. So this picture schedule, the child will see, okay, these are the things I'm going to do today, I will follow this schedule. So the child will have some idea and the child will follow the schedule. It will definitely help the child. So these are some classroom strategies. And the next one is the reinforcement. As I said, reinforcement is very much necessary for certain children. Use some reinforcers, talk to the parents and identify the reinforcer, whichever, whatever. If the child is saying if something happens, the child says sorry, means you can, whenever the child says sorry, you can give some reinforcement, some star or chocolate, whatever the child likes. If you're not bothering about the whatever the child is saying, even the child says sorry, if you're ignoring all those things, the child will demotivate and the child will not show interest to use the magic words like thank you, welcome, sorry, excuse me, all those things. Not only that, for the academics and any task you are teaching, whenever the child complete the task, finish coloring or finish writing the homework or finish writing the test or finish reading, writing, if you give the reinforcer, definitely it will help to build the positive behavior and also to overcome the negative behavior. So before going to the conclusion, I just okay, I just like to share this one. Some what are the things we can observe with 10 children in our classroom. So some ideas, how to write some referral report, or what are the observation I can do. Some little small ideas, some sample I will show you. So initially, what is student's name, date, and which grade they are studying, you will write. And when you are observing, and teacher's name, whom you are, write your name, and why, what is the reason you are observing. isn't for observation, it is for academics or behavior or study skill or organization difficulties or social emotional problem, or it is a peer relationship, or it is so specify, briefly explain what observation you're going to do and write a note about it. Then you have to identify the child's strength also to work with the child and to know about the child. Definitely you need to identify the area of strength. The child, sometimes the child will be good in English, the child will have difficulties in mathematics. So you should not label the child is having a problem. Sometimes the child's strengths will be different, so make use of the strength to overcome the weakness. So maths calculation, mathematical problem solving skills and reading behavioral, what are the strengths the child has, you can see, and to success, what are the weakness, also the same thing, you can put the tick mark. So identify the strengths and weakness of the child. Then activity, how you are assessing the child, if you are giving some activities and assessing our child. And also the classroom behavior of the child, how the child is responding in the classroom routine, how they are behaving, and feedback, how when the child is getting upset. All these observations you can do in your classroom any child is having difficulties. Then classroom behavior and activity level, whether the child is showing appropriate eye contact or no eye contact, in control of behavior or tantrum or breakdown, behavior is distracting to others, or the child is daydreaming or lost in thoughts, like that. So all these classroom behaviors also you can observe. And motivation efforts and work habits also you can observe. Remains on the task, for how long the child can able to remain on the task, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Appears engagement in the classroom, how well the child can able to engage in the classroom activities, and whether the child can initiate tasks, whether the child can start the task independently, or the child needs some teachers help or any peer groups help to support. And material appearance organization, so all these things teachers can observe how the child, if the child is not learning anything, whether the child is giving up. Thank you. So classroom relationship with the teachers, with the peers, and with others in the classroom, how well the child can able to maintain the relationship. So all these things you can do in an additional observation. Apart from all those things, anything you are observing in the classroom, apart from academics or behaviors or anything, you are observing anything in the classroom also, you can observe and write a note, and then you can do the pre-referral to the parents, and along with the parents you can do the referral to the special education service. Okay. So in conclusion, why I put this picture is, even if you don't know to work with children at all, don't know anything about the how to work with a child, don't know anything to do with the child, at least you please give your eye contact, give your smile, and spend some time with the child, at least for 5 minutes. Definitely I believe it will make a big difference with our children, send children. At least they will understand the human difference, emotions and social thing they will learn. Even if you're not doing anything, at least try doing this, it will definitely motivate you to do the others, support to the child. You will support the child, you will support the family, ultimately you will support the community as well. It is the teacher's responsibility. At least you can make the child smile to the child. Many we teachers, we are not paying attention to the child, we are not smiling or giving, we are just ignoring. We can try to avoid that, and we can pay attention to the child, give eye contact, smile, and spend some time with the child. With this I am trying to conclude. if students don't learn the way we teach, then let's teach the way they learn. So I like to conclude. Thank you. And thank you, Asha, for introducing me to your college and to your management. Thank you for giving this opportunity to present and share my ideas and experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a nice presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
It's a time for vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Make this event what it was.
We can't hear you.
We can't hear you. Once again, repeat.
Shubhama. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. First of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Lord Almighty for making today's event and resounding success. With His blessings and grace, we are able to make this event what it was. Next, I extend my deep gratitude to our chairman, Dr. Samuel George Kalere sir, Emmanuel sir Group of Institutions for his immense support for the arrangement of this international webinar. Thank you, sir. Next, I extend my wholehearted thanks to our deemed chief guest, Mrs. Hema Mohanasundaram, special educator, care and special education woman, for her valuable talk. The way she explained the topic is very interesting, informative, and thought-provoking. Ma'am, this session has been very fruitful and beneficial for the whole teaching community. Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to thank our principal, ma'am, Dr. Bella Weislet, and Vice Principal, ma'am, Dr. Vinila, and my colleagues for their uninstant support for this international webinar. Next, I extend my sincere thanks to all the participants for their active participants and made this program a grand success. Once again, I thank you one and all.
Excuse me, I can see one question. Can I answer that question?
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, it's a topic about timeout area and visual schedule. So timeout area is nothing but calming down area. If the child is little upset or very hyper, or the child is showing some emotional disturbances, anything. So in your classroom, you can make one small corner, or in your nearby your classroom, you can make one small corner for you can put some chair or anything. So the child will sit alone and calm down, come out from the frustration, anxiety. Sometime during the exam time or test time, the child will fear very much, and the child will started to cry, pour out anxiety in those case. So you can keep some calm down area, and the child can get calmed down with soothing music or some whichever the reinforcer the child likes. So that area is called timeout area. The child will go out for the time for 5 minutes or 10 minutes according to the child's need, calm down, then come back and continue the task. Next is visual schedule. It's like timetable, how you're writing the timetable. In the same way, for this child, you're going to put everything in a picture format. With the child's picture also you can use, and with one chart you can paste the pictures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and You can plan the timetable for the child, so it will help the child to follow the timetable. Thank you. Definitely inclusive. Next question I'm saying definitely inclusive education will help the child to promote the speech, because the child will get lots of opportunities in the inclusive school to talk with the peers, with different teachers. The child will benefit from inclusive education. So we can continue the child in the inclusive education. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for giving me the
Okay.
opportunity. Thank you, Asha.
Okay, okay ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank all the participants from Emmanuel College of Education. Unmute, okay. முடிஞ்ச கொடுக்க சொன்ன பேர்லாம் காண்டாயிரம் விடாதுல. கொஞ்சம் feedback of 5 minutes மாத்துறேன். நான் எடுக்கணும்னு சொல்றேன். 5 minutes.